Cassie, anytime you want to say something. We were saying during a break, you were saying that this is so much harder to do, to sit here and talk, than that thing you did on doing the conventions, which to me seemed much harder than this.
I'd rather do the interviewing than be interviewed, I think.
It's hard to be on the other side.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you now qualify as a science fiction personality. You've been to a political convention. And that's about as bizarre as you can get, I think.
Will you be going to the Republican
Yes,
convention,
I
too?
will be.
So you'll have two sides of the bizarrerie. What about The Man? Is it The Man? Is that the title of the film that you wrote?
Yeah.
You haven't written a film for a while.
This is the first theatrical film in a few years.
What's in the film that couldn't be if you'd written it for television? Anything?
Well, it was written expressly for television. It's a television feature, and then shown theatrically because they decided it was sufficiently good.
Has it been on TV?
No, never.
I didn't
it was
think
written
so.
for TV, though, and then instead they're putting it in the theaters, and it's opening in New York. You can't say political parties by name on television in a dramatic show. You can't have a protagonist be a Democrat and an antagonist be a Republican. No, you can't. You can't dramatize something and say, I am a Republican and I am good. And conversely, if the opposition happens to be a Democrat and he happens to be a bum, you're not allowed to do this. So consequently, we sort of pre-censor ourselves.
Equal time business.
Precisely that. And especially of late, I had an actor work night gallery who happened to be running for Congress. And he had a very small role. I think he was on for 3 or 4 minutes.
And you had to cast his opponent at
We didn't have to cast. That's very good, Dick.
Oh, yeah.
Really swell, Dick. Yes.
No.
But that's just one of the little... Anyway, this guy's opponent in the congressional race asked for equal time and got it on NBC.
But the one was an acting role, and that the guy...
Precisely an acting role. It had nothing political, nothing remotely, related to the campaign. It was
Well, now that's silly.
It is silly.
I mean, the idea of fairness is fine, but that's absurd.
This fair play doctrine is now, it's moving into, incredible extensions now.
It's just a power grab. It's people who are concerned that it's a very powerful medium, and they're just concerned that they're going to be cut out in some way.
And they couldn't get that exposure probably on their own, or with their own strength, or with their own persuasion.
While
and
they have
consequently,
some leverage, they're just not going to let go.
Right, right.
So what do you call parties on a script? The plutocrats and the...
We don't. It's an odd thing.
The demopubs? Or
you don't refer to political party. You talk of the party.
The party.
And
that sounds communist.
You have to be very careful. Kind of, yeah. I never thought of it that way. But you have to be very careful also in your depiction of the issues at hand. For example, if the president happens to be more or less oriented to big business or something, I think, in terms of political history of the Republican Party being more oriented to big business, and the Democrats say labor unions. Well, you can't have your president be a big, strong union man, because that carries with it a suggestion of his being a Democrat. And it's kind of a rough
Can you have a
thing.
communist be a villain in a script?
I think that's probably possible.
But that's a political party, and so you would think that then they would hear from the other parties.
Is the Communist Party still on the ticket anymore? I don't think so, is it?
On the ballot?
Yeah, it's
Yeah,
a
if they
bona
have
fide
candidates,
party.
they would
but
Can they get equal time?
that's an interesting question. I don't know.
Have they ever gotten, is probably the question.
Well, I don't think they've been on the ballot in any national election since the fair time doctrine, equal time
Governor Wallace
doctrine.
was given equal time in when he had the American Party, I believe.
Governor who? That's possible, I suppose.
Prejudice?
That's not prejudice. Aren't I allowed to have likes and dislikes on this show?
Not at all.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that. I loved every one of them.
Where on earth did you get that idea?
I don't know where I got that silly idea. Anyway, the clip that some nice chap brought along is pretty much the top of the picture, in which we discover who is going to be the next president of the United States by virtue of an incredible, bizarre set of occurrences. And James Earl Jones, who's in the lead in the film, the most uniquely skilled man I think I've ever worked with, quite apart from being a hell of a nice man, a terribly decent, special guy. And I think it's a good film, a very literate picture, I think.
The plot certainly is a grabber. Should we roll that right now and take a look at that? This is from early in the film.
Yeah, very close to the beginning.
Yeah.
That wasn't the real chronology. They just took pieces of it out.
Oh, they condensed some scenes a
Yeah, they
little
were
bit for
condensed.
use here?
Yeah, just for the use here to cut it down.
But is there that same cut from that's Douglas, whatever his name is,
Douglas
to the...
Stillman to the silhouetted figure,
Yeah.
taking the phone call in the darkness.
Where'd you get the idea for that?
Well, that's
It's from
Irving
an
Wallace's
novel,
book.
isn't it?
Yeah, I Called the Man.
That's right. We'll be right back after this message. See, we have almost no time left. Recommend a good new piece of science fiction for people to read who love science fiction. We get a lot of letters from them.
I'm too modest to recommend any. Rod, you did.
No, I have
What
nothing.
was the thing you were just talking about? You said during the break, a short science fiction piece by...
Oh, there's a story by Ted Thomas called Day of Succession, a very short story about the invasion of Earth, and the President of the United States was a pacifist, and he refused to take the necessary action, and the Chief of Staff, I think it is, decides the only thing to do to save the world is to shoot the President and the Vice President, and then he turns to the Speaker and says, Mr. President, the time is very short, do the following action. And that was the first time I realized that the third man was the Speaker of the House.
You know, Adam Clayton Powell used to say, I never knew if it was semi-serious or not with him, but he used to say the right combination of events because of the highest position he was in at one point, and he could have been president. It would have been an extremely complicated thing that would have to have happened, but so a black man president, well, that would have been much farther down than the man in your plot would be, yeah.
Of course, when Wallace wrote the book, the concept of a black man serving in that high federal public office was unheard of, really. Now, of course, it's not nearly as bizarre an attitude at all.
Or a black woman?
Or a black woman, indeed.
It was interesting at this convention, at the Democratic Convention, the number of black people there, and in very important roles. You know, Willie Brown
You
of
could see that
California.
and watch
you know.
it. It was, as a matter of fact, it was a very notable and noticeable
To me, too.
thing.
It just
Did you
felt
feel
very-
women made great strides at the convention?
I think, well, there were 40% of the delegates were women, which was a great plus, but I think that women probably as a bloc did more poorly than anybody else. They were less effective in what they tried to do, but that won't happen again.
Really?
No.
Tomorrow's the world.
They learn quicker than men do. That's probably...
They learned a lot this time. Yeah. I don't think they'll be dumped on again.
Has a science fiction story ever started? I had this idea this afternoon that we get a radio message from outer space. It's a voice, which isn't probably very good, and it speaks English, unfortunately, which makes it a little unlikely.
There's no message from our sponsor.
No. No, but it says you are about to be attacked, and I am risking everything by getting this message to Earth, and there is a way you should prepare for the attack. It is planned, and it's going into the final stages. And then the voice says, oh, what? No, I'm only testing this equipment. No, I'm only... And then there's silence.
Which of us writes it first, Rod?
Has anything...
Arthur, I yield to you, my friend.
You know,
It didn't sound as good in the telling, but...
In a way, the ending of H.G. Wells' First Men in the Moon, with these messages from Cavor, that was written when the first wireless experiments were being done by Marconi back in 1898 or thereabouts, and he had messages from the moon, and in fact the satellites closed in on him and presumably kill him, and that's the last message. So
And it was
H.G. Wells was there first.
There was a classic radio show called The Next Voice You Hear, which I think bordered on that theme in some way.
A voice from out...
Actually, it turned out to
somewhere.
be the voice of God, unless I'm mistaken, but they assumed it was a voice from outer space.
Was this a new idea I've hit on, this voice warning the Earth and then being cut off, and then we don't know
I think so.
where to search in space for where the
I
message
don't know
came
the specific. I don't know the specific idea. It's quite a good one. Congratulations.
from? Oh, it's nothing really. I toss these things off.